And Music Scene Investigation back on the air. Another week, another me, another you. We're glad you're here with us, of course. And we've got 3 new songs going before our panel today. It's going to be a good time, I hope. We had some technical difficulties a little earlier in the week. Hopefully we've gotten those all straightened out, or at least as much as we can at the present time. We'll find out how things go throughout the show today. Of course, if you're not watching us live, you can catch us in the recorded fashion, either audio or video, at musicsceneinvestigation.com. You can see us on YouTube and listen to us or watch us over in the iTunes store or anywhere your finer podcasts are found, I think. Well, even some places where they're not found, the finer ones anyway. We're everywhere, folks. Except, a couple of places. We're working on that.
YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Google+. Check us out on there as well.
That's right. Ian Husbands is the dulcet tones you hear. Ian, how are you, my friend? Everything going all right with you, Mr. Batman?
Life is very busy. Life is very, very, very busy. But yeah, we're okay. We're solid and moving forward. And we're not really. Just trying to sound positive.
Well, I'm glad everything's going all right, at least seemingly so. You put on a good face for it anyway, so that's what counts. And again, Skype.
A practice, Richard.
Yeah, Skype's giving us some issues today, folks, so don't mind that. As we strive to get these things out to you live, we do run into bandwidth issues occasionally, but that's only to be expected when you're doing things live over the internet, as we do, and that's just kind of the way it works. All right, Ian, before I move on from you, I know you have some stats from last week when we had some interesting music from Frank Palangi, Roger Ratliff, and Young Gifted on the broadcast. Roger Ratliff, of course, was selected as the Song of the Week with his song Born to Roam. So what about the witness statements?
Very interesting this week. Not a lot of voters, but very, very views. So for songwriting, best songwriting, we've got Song 2 and Song 3 with an equal amount of votes.
I'm surprised.
For best performance, we've got Song 1 and Song 2 with an equal amount of votes. And for best mix and production, we've got Song 2 and Song 3 with an equal amount of votes. So I would say, saying that Song 2 got voted in every category, that Song 2 was the winner. So Born to Roam by Roger Ratliff, who he went with, wasn't it?
That is who the panel went with, exactly.
But a very split decision this week. Because, in all fairness, the music last week was very good across the board.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how that went. I was very interested in the witness statements. We had a split panel, of course, last week. If you weren't with us, Ian Friedman was on the broadcast. 2 votes for Roger Ratliff, 1 vote for Frank Palangi. And so it's really surprising how the witness statements came out. Thank you very much, Ian. Anything else you want to add before I move on and introduce the rest of our panelists today?
We've got a cool little video coming out this week, hopefully, so keep an eye on my Twitter stream and YouTube channel for that.
All right, definitely want to do that. Our next panelist in-house, of course, is Mr. James Anderson joining us. James, how the heck are you, my friend?
Hi there, I'm well, thanks, and it's good to hear that everything seems to be holding up on this connection so far. The last couple of weeks for me have been pretty bad regarding internet connections, and I think the last time I was on the show, I was completely static on the screen, so hopefully I'll be a bit more animated this time.
Yeah, well,
Not out of choice, of course. But
It is kind of what it is. I mean, occasionally we have great days with connectivity, occasionally we don't. And considering that we have people all over the world joining us, you guys, you and Ian both from England, our guests from virtually anywhere in the world, I'm actually surprised this works as well as what it does.
Yeah, it's amazing it works at all. So I think we we should all be grateful to the powers of the internet. But yeah, things haven't been too bad for me. I've been not too busy in the world of audio, but I have been trying to plug my Kindle book, which I've just issued on Amazon, which is called Labeling the Record Collector, and that's available for a couple of quid on Amazon, probably a few dollars from the American site.
Now I
did try and plug it the other week when it was on free, but
I sent you
you'll have to pay this time.
I sent you a link earlier this week having to do with record collectors and hoarders.
That was absolutely fantastic.
We talked about that, which is one of the reasons why I sent it to you. We talked about record collectors and the tendencies of hoarders to be kind of intertwined with each other. And I thought you might find that interesting. I didn't read through the whole of the article, obviously. I'm just a headline hound myself. So I'm interested to hear what your take on that was.
It certainly had a lot of really good pictures of people with their collections. And I think that was probably the main highlight of the article. But I thought it was really interesting, actually, to see all those different accounts, and especially one coming from the female persuasion, which is really unusual. In the book that I wrote, I collated a lot of information from collectors across the board, and very few collectors are female. It's represented by a very small percentage of the female population, sadly. But
that's
there you go.
Yeah, that's very true. Of course, I think honestly, when it comes to collecting, I think guys are probably worse at it. The worst offenders at it. I'm not going to say they're better than women at collecting because, that's a toss-up. But I think that guys are probably more prone to be collectors.
More obsessional, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless it's shoes.
Well, that's a very good point for me in there.
Yeah, well,
or handbags.
There you go. Our guest panelist, you heard him there in the background. We're happy to have him back with us. Recording engineer, over 35 years of experience, has worked with some of the big names in the industry. You might know a few of these people. Like, I don't know. Let me see if I can drop a couple of names here. Gloria Estefan, Cher, Michael Jackson. That enough? I think that's probably enough. Tom Chianti is back on the MSI set with us. Hey, Tommy, how are you, man? Great to have you back.
Woo, woo, woo.
It's good to see you back with us. I'm glad to see that the studio hasn't changed much, at least from a camera perspective.
Yeah, and that will change. We started because we're going more commercial, well, a little bit more, not a whole lot commercial. We're still doing private productions, but we got a dry bar in now and a refrigerator, and oh my goodness, it's just so great to have all the amenities in here. I'm thinking about putting a bathroom in and never leaving.
But, all you'd need then is a microwave, because once you have the microwave and the bathroom, you really don't have to leave then, do you?
No, because after I get out of the shower, I could microwave myself clean, dry.
Exactly.
Wet.
That's what I'm thinking. You just leave the door on the microwave open, you're fine. So what have you been up to since you took the hiatus from MSI? You left MSI, went back into your recording engineering full time. I know that in and of itself is like more than a full time job. So what's been going on with you?
Actually, Alana and I went deep into writing mode, and we wrote about 3-4 songs that are in various stages of production, and one we just finished, and that I'm going to send off to a major label and see if we still got that stuff that makes people cry. So
Well,
it's a song about onions.
a song about onions. I thought it was going to be a song with your picture on the album cover, but that's just me.
No, that just makes people laugh. But it's good to have a bunch of free time. I get a lot of rest that I haven't been getting, and then it allows me to go the 2-3 days straight when we're producing or mixing. I've done some work for some other independent artists. I've been starting to rebuild the network. So, I'm up for consideration for producing and engineering and mixing for various small labels and some other artists. Surprisingly, the artists I used to work with don't return my calls anymore, but
Well,
well, that's music business.
I was going to say, imagine, I guess Cher was in the news this past week. She's been kind of busy with a couple of things. I don't know that she has time to return your calls. If you haven't heard, Michael Jackson passed away some years ago, so I can understand why he wouldn't be returning your calls either. So,
I keep getting, please leave a message. I'll get to it when I'm out of my coffin.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. Well, Tommy,
Wow.
it's great to have you. It's like you never left, having you back with us. It's good to see you sitting in the same chair, and you're wearing a different shirt, though. That's the only thing different, I think.
Well, now I have time to, clean, change clothes once in a while, and all sorts of things. It's good. It's nice to wake up every morning and have either nothing to do, which is always dedicated to writing, or a deadline. And deadlines keep you young and actually helps your brain, because when you don't have any, you tend to, stupefy or whatever. And, it's still not like it was when I was working in the big rooms with all the artists, because the pressure you get there will either immediately kill you or make you.
And that's one of the things I was going to ask you about. Is you had mentioned not only the pressure you just mentioned, but you had mentioned the fact that, working 2 or 3 days straight, it's got to be really taxing on the body and the mind, of course. You getting extra sleep to help you do that. Has that really changed that much, or you still wind up doing all that extra time?
Well, that's changed, because even though I may work a mix or a production for 2 or 3 days, it's 2 or 3 days that I work when I want and finish when I want. When I used to freelance for, everybody, it was always condensed into contiguous hours, where you would spend 20 hours from scratch developing a song, be there while they're writing it, record vocals, the song would change, the name would change, and you have to keep up with all this. And then afterwards, maybe a 4-hour break, and you go into mix. And a lot of people don't understand the intensity of mixes that go into a major label pop release. You have to please everybody. You have to please the money, which is usually the label, the producer, the artist, and depending where the artist is and their personality, sometimes even get stuck, trying to please their girlfriend, boyfriend, or their entourage. Usually at that point, I empty the room except for the artist. And there's a lot of pressure, because, the label wants it done in 10 minutes, and the artist doesn't care how long it takes, because they forget that they're not really paying for it, but they act like they are.
Yeah.
And in a way they are, because in the end, it all gets charged back to them. But you've got to manage personalities. There's a lot more to engineering than tweaking knobs. You're responsible for the studio. You're responsible that everybody gets along. You've got to make sure that it keeps moving. You can't let these people get sidetracked. You're sort of like a mommy, a daddy, an uncle, and you know what kind of uncles we're talking about.
Kind of like a school teacher as well.
Yeah, and you sometimes you even turn out to be the punisher when you tell a singer just to go stand in the corner.
I can see you going around and telling some of these guys and gals you work with, Lisa Left Eye in the corner. I don't know if she would do that. She'd burn your house down first.
Yeah. Ooh. She was very, very. She was a great person. It's a shame what happened, but she was very sweet, very easygoing. And a lot of people, you'd be surprised. Mos Def was an incredible musician, and he just loved the fact that he got an engineer that was also a musician. So we spent like 20 hours just going through, all types of instruments, live and sampled. And everybody has their own workflow, and you've got to adjust to it. And always in the back of your mind, that if you don't produce something that everybody's happy with at the end of however long the session is, you don't get called back. So it's really a lot of pressure. And a lot of these, newer engineers that are used to working in the box in their own studio don't realize that when they do, or if they get the chance to go to a large facility, that there's a lot more, like I said, than just tweaking knobs.
Yeah. Now, this is something interesting you just brought up that I want to ask you about. You talked about engineers working in their own studios, in their homes in a lot of cases, with the way music has progressed over the years, getting a chance to work with new artists or established artists and whatnot, might being something that might be a little bit difficult for them, of course, because they may not be used to that kind of interaction. Do you find through your experience, now I know you've been around the business for an extremely long time as music goes. I mean, 35 years is one hell of a career, but do you find that you're seeing obviously new producers, new engineers coming online every day, it seems like, that a lot of these guys and gals are coming from that kind of arena, their home studios, working out of their bedroom, working out of their den or whatever?
Well, I've been very fortunate because I've had a long career. I started way back in the 80s when the MIDI explosion happened, and that was all the rage. And, computers and music started to become closer and more integrated. And then, of course, the digital revolution. So in the latter part, you would always get these young kids who had never been in a major studio, and you have to school them and be patient. And especially if they're, like in some of the rap sessions, a lot of new talent would come up with some really good beats, and, Rockwilder, Eric Sermon, or Redman, or whoever, would bring them in because they liked the vibe, and you would have to really teach these people how to make what they do at home work in the studio, because a lot of times, all they know how to do is punch in a sequence, and they don't know how to synchronize it to tape or to another computer and stuff. So yeah, like you said, you got to be a teacher sometimes, and you've always got to be patient, but you've got to remember that at some point, the talent is going to get very upset if this guy is so lost. And eventually, I got called in to do some sessions where the only job I had was to show the young producer or young writer just how his instrument works.
Yeah.
Well, being in it for many years, I've worked on almost every type of instrument that's come out, real or computerized or synthesized or whatever.
All right. Well, as you said, you have to be patient, and let's see if we have patience today. We've got 3 tracks to take a listen to. And I don't know if they're going to require your patience or anything like that. I think we'll find out. We'll find out what everybody thinks about them. Tom, always good to see you here. And Ian, of course, is going to interrupt me with something. I think he may have a question or a statement to make.
Just like you said, I've never just left, so I'll interrupt you too.
Of course, Ian wants to show us a blurry vision through Skype-O-Vision, a look at the Artist of the Year and or Panelist of the Year awards that we'll be handing out in January.
There you go. I can't hold it up too long because it's really heavy.
I would imagine it is.
I bet.
Obviously made of solid gold, obviously.
I wish your Skype video were better because that would have looked great
Anyway.
in a good video.
Anyway, let's just do it.
You guys have come up in the world. You used to have paper mache awards when I was there.
We still do. We just paint them gold now.
And then lie about their weight. How's that? Is that any better?
No, not at all.
No. Okay.
It is what it is.
I have a question, Rich.
Yeah.
I have a question. Your feed to me is usually, what's on screen.
Right.
It seems to have a cable in front of it. It's like a really weird picture. Can you see what you're sending me?
I do not see what I'm sending you. Because I'm looking at what we're actually sending out to everyone else, and I don't see any cables in front of anything.
All right. Well, never mind. It's just me being spoiled.
Yeah, I don't know. It's Diva Tom today, everybody, and by golly,
that's Tom Diva.
Tom Diva. I'm sorry. I got that mixed up. I thought the writer said it the other way around, but my fault. All right, I'm going to ask James to send me his video back. We lost him in the process. He's back with us, however. And we're going to take a listen to song number 1 as we go through this. So here now, everyone, is song number 1 on today's Music Scene Investigation. Enjoy it. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. This is song number 1. That's song number one on today's music scene investigation. And we're going to bring our panel back in and have a talk with them, find out what they thought. We'll start things out with Ian. Ian, track number one over to you, my friend. What do you think?
Okay, from the point of view, it's a country song. It's another good example of a country song in many ways. Some great performances there, some good production there, like the touch of the mandolin on the breakdown, and the sort of sliding guitar in there. Everything sounded like it was recorded well. Everything sounded tonally quite correct, but the mix was way off. The drums were blatantly loud. The kick, especially as Tom's saying in the chat room, the kick was just like pushing through. Really nice tone on it. Really like the sort of the snap to the bass drum, but it was just really prominent in your face. And that vocal, she's got a lovely voice. She's got a really good country voice, and she sounds like she's putting in a good performance, but she was set right back and everything was just crowded around her. There was no space in this at all. Everything was sort of competing for levels and on top of each other, which is a shame because, as I said, there's a lot of good stuff going on here, and it really is, from the point of view of the song, the mix that's letting it down. There were some really nice chord changes as well throughout the track, where you expected it to be quite a cliche country change. It went to sort of slightly a minor instead of a major or something like that, and gave her quite a nice little places to work her voice up a little bit. Yeah. It really is a mix. It's a mix thing for this. I think, you've got a good example of a country song. Again, it's not pushing any boundaries as far as country songs go from my liking. Lyrically, it sounded typical for that genre. But the mix is all over the place. Everything's loud. Everything's competing for space. Everything's pushing that vocal just back and back and back. And I want to hear her singing. She's got a good voice.
All right, Ian, I appreciate that. Thank you. James Anderson up next. James, track number one, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things that Ian says about this track, and the mix is one of the biggest problems. It's well recorded and typically a good example of your sort of stereotypical country track. Very good performances throughout there, nice vocals. It's just a shame that you couldn't hear them, and there were points when the backing vocals came in and you just weren't sure if they were there or not at all, really. Yeah, as I said, good recording. Kick sounds nice, but it certainly was too loud at one stage there. They're definitely too dominant, but it's mainly down to mix issues. If these are corrected, then you've got a really good track. And it's something that's definitely salvageable. A lot of the time, people don't record well at source, and then you end up with a bad track overall because you can't really do anything in the mix. As they say, you can't polish a turd. But with this track, I think you can definitely make a lot of improvements just through a decent mix and a lot of tweaking. And those vocals definitely need to come up because they're the main focal point and need to be heard.
All right. I appreciate it, James. Thank you. Over to Mr. Tom Chianti. Tommy, what about you? What is your thought on track number one?
Well, this is a excellent example of country does WrestleMania, where there's like 19 different fighters in there, and everything is over the top and too loud. It also, there's like somebody put a blanket over the mix. It's not clear. I mean, as Ian and James have said, it's all there. The production is excellent, and the songwriting material is good. It's not standard, but it's just lacking definition and balance. And unfortunately, because of the way it's balanced, this is something that could not be fixed in mastering, because you would be able to bring the vocals up, but in doing so, you would also make that kick louder. And as far as the kick sound goes, it's too tacky, too top-endy, way too prominent. It overpowers and distracts from everything in the mix. And as we always say, the main focal point of any song has got to be the vocals. And they did, the singer's got a great country voice. The backgrounds, from what I could hear, were very well organized, nice and tight. You know, everything about this is good, and it just shows the importance of, you know, paying attention to what's going on in the mix. A lot of times, you know, you can't go straight through. Everybody's got to get out of the room, let all the energy that's built up in the room dissipate, and then refresh your ears, take a walk, whatever, and come back. And then you can really get an idea of, you know, where your balances were. Other than that, you know, like we've all said, it's a good song for the genre. And it's a shame. I really liked it, and the production is spot on, and the singer is singing her heart out, and of course, the mix just destroys it. Sorry about that.
All right. Well, I thank you very much, Tommy. The name of this track number 1, it's called To Love Me by Katie Perkins. To Love Me by Katie Perkins. Katie, we thank you for sending that track into Music Scene Investigation. Want to get your track in front of our panel? Easy to do. Go to MusicSceneInvestigation.com. Click on the Submit a Song link at the top of the page, and we'll randomly select 3 every week. Hopefully get it in front of your panel as James is playing drums on his computer keyboard, I think.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Your microphone picks up every little thing, so even when you whisper, we hear it. Just wanted to let you know.
Try not to be rude about Ian in future.
I was going to say those little nothings you whispered about Ian, we picked them up. And, of course, Ian is playing his egg.
I didn't know Ian had eggs.
He's got eggs every month. He's got chickens in the house.
Only for breakfast.
There you go. All right.
My mum and dad do actually have chickens.
There you go.
We do actually get all our eggs fresh from my mum and dad's back garden.
What more could you want?
Well, you know, one thing I've noticed since I left MSI, there's also a lot of chickens here. Ooh.
You notice only Ian is laughing at that. The rest of us aren't because
Ian's the only one with a decent sense of humor, and I hate to say that about a Brit.
I don't know. 2 more songs, guys. Let's get to song number 2 on today's MSI. Here it is, everyone. Song number 2. Enjoy the song, everyone. We'll be right back. That is song number 2 on the show today. Track number 2. We're going to start this round out with James, get his thoughts. James, track number 2, over to you first. What are your thoughts, my friend?
I'm going to just have to pull myself out of this MSI-induced trance. That was that's blown me away a bit. That was it had good ideas in this track. Not really my kind of thing, but I was definitely intrigued by some of the ideas there, which certainly could have been developed in a less repetitive way. It got a little bit boring by the end because it became a bit too predictable. But yeah, it kind of harked back to the early days of programming for me. Sounded very much fresh from the synclavia at the beginning, and then it just became too boring and repetitive and sort of out of the box, really. I was hoping for a little bit more variety in production, or maybe the sounds. My ears definitely perked up as soon as I heard that accordion or melodica style instrument come in, but it just became too much, and I think less is more, really. I think you just need to keep evolving the idea with a genre like this, but then again, maybe that is the idea, to keep it similar. Certainly had me bopping away though, and not necessarily my favourite kind of genre, but a good effort anyway, and you could hear everything, so not too bad at all.
All right, I appreciate it, James. Thank you. Over to Mr. Chianti. Tommy, song number 2, your thoughts on that one?
Well, when it started off, it had my head nodding, and then as it continued, I nodded off. This sounds like a problem I used to have, and I presume a lot of writers come across. They get a great hook idea, and then they get stuck on where to go. And just changing the sound that's playing the lead riff going down doesn't really break it up. I like the choice of sounds that he chose, the synth and the, like James said, melodica, accordion, whatever. Interesting sounds. I mean, this is like the opposite of the first song. It's mixed better, but it has no production value. It started off with what was a great intro and should have gone into, there's no verse, bridge, pre-chorus. It's just a changing instrument loop, and it has one good idea, the lick, and then it needs to go on to something else, preferably a vocal, or at least some vocal pads, or even a piano or another type of keyboard playing over it with varying chord structures and melodies. It was, very repetitive, and it's the start of a chorus. A lot of people will start writing with their hook and then go back and develop the intro, verse, and pre-chorus, or whatever, verse B. And it sounds like this guy just got stuck in the rut. The needle is stuck on the record, if anybody remembers either of those.
All right. I appreciate it, Tommy. And let's see if Ian is stuck. Ian, what do you think of track number 2?
I'm stuck. Yeah, pretty much what the guys said. To be honest, I've been using a lot of accordion sounds and stuff of late, and I don't see it really has its part in this music. I would have liked to have heard that sort of more of a dancey type synth than the accordion sound. It seems to stick out vastly from the rest of the sort of sonic scape that's been given to the track. And I don't know if I liked that a lot. I didn't think it fit the genre really very that well at all. It was the only hook there, and it was a simple one at that. And the track just goes nowhere. It kind of builds a little bit and then just stays on a level and then just finishes. And from the point of view of, I wouldn't even say this would be good for a commercial or a corporate DVD or anything like that, because it's still too repetitive. It needs to break up. It needs to have more dynamics to it. Whatever that sound you choose to use, even if it is the accordion or something like that, you could break off into a sort of a really quite a good melody with that. As Tom said, bring some vocals in, even if it's just a sample, just to sort of give this track a bit more depth and a bit more style about it. As I said, personally, I'd change that accordion sound. I mean, everything else sounded pretty good. It seems like they've got a grasp on the technical side of it. So from the point of view of the sounds they're using and the way they're mixing them together, everything else seemed to be there, except for that accordion sound, which just to me stuck out as too different from the rest of it. So yeah, change the arrangement, arrange it, give it an arrangement. To be honest, it hasn't got one already. Bring it down, give it some dynamics, give it a new melody. Give it parts, a verse, a chorus, a mid-late, or something, just to sort of break it up.
All right, I appreciate it, Ian. Thank you. The name of track number 2 is, let me get it up here so everybody can see it. It's called Esensa by a guy or a group called Misho, and we appreciate their sending that track in to Music Scene Investigation. All right, a reminder to everyone, if you have not voted in our 2014 awards, what's stopping you? You need to get out there and make your vote count. MusicSceneInvestigation.com. Top of the page, you'll see a button telling you where to go to vote. Not just telling you where to go. We'd never do that without a button telling you what you're doing as well. You're voting for the best artist of the year and the best panelist of the year. And you can vote once a day, so get on it. Make your vote count multiple times if you can. We got a horse race, really, in our panelist. It's like 1 or 2% dividing the top 2 vote getters. And the artist of the year, well, I have to take a look at it yourself. A little wider gap, but it's still anybody's ball game. Voting concludes sometime after the first of the year, with our award show to be taking place on the 11th of January. So you want to make sure you get your votes in before then. We have one more song to take a listen to, guys. Let's do it right now. This is song number 3 on the broadcast, everyone. Enjoy track number 3 on today's Music Scene Investigation. Hope you enjoy it. We'll be back in just a second.
Up today, trust me, that's the last thing that I'll do. I've taken on wounds today, but I gave back as good as you. 'Cause that's who we are. We love, we fight, we fall into the light.
Track number 3, there you have it. Let's find out what our panelists think about this one. We'll start things out this round with Tom Chianti. Tommy, what do you think about the third track you heard on today's broadcast?
I think it's a shame. They've got a really interesting song and production going on. The vocal performance was really good, buried though. And the loop is just 2.5 to 8K going on there. And they should be changing it up for the chorus. Even if it maintains the same beat, it should be a different drum set to, change the feel a bit. It's way too bright, way too prominent, which is why I think all the guitars had to come up. I love some of the guitar parts. Guitar sound was very interesting. I think it was cool. But again, as Ian said, they're a little bit too loud. It's a great idea for a track or song. It's arranged nicely, but it all gets lost in the presentation. And it's just, like I said, it's a real shame because this is a really good song. And again, here's where the second song fell short. They had the similar background idea of repetition going, but they changed it up between different guitar parts, playing differently. And the only thing that really, really annoyed me was that loop. And it plays the same from top to bottom. It's too top-endy, too loud, and especially when the ride cymbal. And it also bothers me that when I mix, I usually do it from the drummer's perspective. In other words, hi-hat would be on the left, the ride would be on the right, the floor tom would be on the right. It just seems more natural for me. And I think a lot of records are mixed that way. This was the opposite. The ride was over on the left and the tom was on the right. And it just was distracting for me as that. But I could adjust to that if it was balanced better.
Maybe it was a left-handed drum loop.
Huh?
Maybe it was a left-handed drum loop.
Yeah. Or it was a mono, and they just tried to split it up. It's a really good song. The singer's got a good voice. He gave a good performance. The guitar parts all work, and everything just needs to be balanced better. And definitely change that loop or change it up. And then you got a great track.
All right. I appreciate it, Tom. Thank you. Over to Mr. Ian Husbands and his thoughts. Ian, track number 3, sir.
Okay, I like the energy in this track, and I like the sort of punk rawness that they were bringing to it. The vocal performance was pretty good. Although, from what I could hear of him in the middle 8 sort of section, it did sound like he was growling and struggling a little bit. But, I couldn't hear it clearly enough because those guitars, they weren't just loud, they were big and they were open and wide. And, from my point of view, I think they need a bit more compression on them to tighten that sound up and sort of bring it into range of the rest of the track and take that volume down a bit more. Because when they kicked in, don't get me wrong, tonally they sounded great. I loved that raw edge to them. But, you've got to think about what was going on the rest of the song here. Bass, not much to say. It was there. It didn't do anything fantastic. It didn't really stick out. But, in this sort of punky, rocky type of track, that's not too much of a problem from my point of view. The drums, I don't know if it was loops or a live drummer or how that went down. But, I liked the sound. Again, I do think, as Tom was saying, it was a tad bright, especially around that snare. And the panning, there was a tom roll, which was like real hard left in my cans. And that sort of really took me by surprise a little bit. Yes, I like to hear a bit of panning across the toms. I like to hear them moving across the stereo field when there's a roll. Normally, as Tom says, from left to right, as if you were sitting behind the drum kit. But some of them were like there was just a tom roll, and it was just hard pan left and on the floor tom, I think it was. And yeah, it did stick out like a sore thumb. I think overall these guys have got a really good track. Like they're used to backing vocals on the chorus there. But that vocal is getting lost again. Again, I think all the tracks tonight are suffering from this loudness war syndrome. They've all been very consistent levels amongst them, but I have found that all of them are a little bit hot to what I'm used to listening to. I have standard settings I use for MSI, and they're all sounding a bit hot tonight. But yeah, I mean, as far as the song goes, it's there. They just need to get this back in the studio and get it remixed and give a bit more attention to those drums and a bit more attention to those guitars.
All right, Ian, I appreciate that as well. Over to James Anderson to close out this round before we get to our Song of the Week selection. James, what about you? Your thoughts on track number 3?
Well, what we've got there is a positive track. I mean, there's a lot of good points to be made about it. Obviously, as Tom and Ian have highlighted, there are a few issues with the mix, especially where it did sound a bit rattly. Things weren't necessarily given enough room. And there's a definite case of it being swamped in places, especially by the loud guitars, and the strained vocals probably weren't coming out quite as loud as they should do for the genre. However, I think there were some good elements there. Nice track, certainly could be developed into something a little better. I'd say that I quite like to hear a change in the drum sounds, especially with the rattly snare. That seemed to tick my box for some reason. As for listening back on headphones, I don't think many people mix with the final end user in mind. So when it comes to listening back on headphones or listening in different environments, such as in cars, on the radio, I don't think people tend to do it so much now. And I think it's important when you're mixing a track to bear in mind what the end user is going to be listening to your music on. It could be a rubbishy radio with one speaker. It could be in mono. It could be on headphones. It could be in the car. You've got to mix your track and A and B it, try it on different speakers, try it in different scenarios, just perfect it as much as possible. And I think that's something that suffers, because it's the case where Ian said that he heard a really heavily panned tom. Well, that could have been reduced had they heard it on headphones in the mix. But I'm not going to be overcritical, because I think that was a good track, and all three have been relatively good today. So it'll be interesting to see what we have to say about the Song of the Week.
Indeed it will, and I appreciate your thoughts. Let's find out the name of this track. Track number 3, called Into the Night by Sam Lumsden, and we appreciate Sam sending that track into Music Scene Investigation. Now, of course, we're going to have our panel decide on a Song of the Week. The Song of the Week will go against the other Song of the Week selections from this month in January for our Band of the Month title on the MSI hit list. Now, of course, the MSI hit list is a broadcast where we take all of those songs of the week to determine our not only Band of the Month, but also to determine our nominees for the Artist of the Year, with each Song of the Week nominee going into that hit list competition. Now, the competition also has a few prizes, so you definitely want to be selected as a Song of the Week, one of which is from our sponsor, Landar.com, Landr.com, mastering made easy on the internet, drag and drop interface. And these guys know what they're doing. The Band of the Month hit list winner is going to receive a 1-year pro account over at Landar.com to help them make their masters better. And you can try it out on your own if you would like. At the bottom of the live screen, there is a Landar.com banner. That's on MusicSceneInvestigation.com/live. You can click on that to try Landar out for yourself. But for free, you get 2 free uncompressed WAV file masters of your music made, along with any amount of compressed MP3 files you want made. And our winner gets that pro account, 1 year of uncompressed WAV files and unlimited MP3 masters as well. Thank you, Landar, for supporting the hit list. Now let's go back to our panel, find out their thoughts on the Song of the Week. Gentlemen, I turn it over to you and take it away.
First off, Pinky in the chat is saying that you sound like you're also tuned, Rich, and I've told him that you are.
I am, yes. Very poorly auto-tuned. Very poorly auto-tuned, I might add.
As for the tracks this week, I don't know. I'm kind of floating back between 1 and 3. For me, they both really suffer the same problem, which is their mixes and the loss of them vocals, which is a shame because I think that you've got 2 very decent tracks there. What are you thinking, boys?
I agree with that, but I'd say that although they both have similar problems with the levels on the vocals, I think 3 probably cuts through a little more than 1. They say that it's so hard to decide between the 2 because given that 3 was the last track we had, that's obviously the freshest in mind. But track 1 definitely had a lot of merit from a songwriting point of view. So I don't think that they should be too... I'm lost for words, sorry. they shouldn't really be punished for that too much.
Any thoughts, Tommy?
Sure. I've made my decision. I'll be bold. I'm the veteran here, so it should be that I lead the crowd of the rest of the little piggies. I'm going to go with number 1, primarily because the loud kick disturbs my ears a lot less than that splashy, high-endy wash of a ride cymbal, which is obscuring everything in the track. And as far as presentation goes, number 1 is the better, a slightly better song, but it's got a lot more going on in the production. Everything else outside of the drum was really interesting, whereas on number 3, that wash of cymbal sound and the continuous same drum loop, which I'm almost certain is a drum loop, because any drummer would go crazy just playing that same beat throughout the song. So, yeah, number 1 for me because it's the least offensive, but also because it's the best presentation.
All right. Ian and James, Tommy's thrown the gauntlet down, called you little piggies, so are you going to follow Tommy or make your own way?
No, I'm going to huff and I'm going to puff and I'm going to blow his song selection in. And I'm going to go with number 3, please, Richard.
All righty.
I knew he was going to do that, just to be contrary.
Your decision is made of straw, Tommy.
How about being even more controversial?
I know, when your breath is like a brick.
Uh-oh, wait a second. Did I hear you right, James? Did you say number 2?
No, that was a joke, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm still very undecided between 1 and 3. It's a very hard call. But given
number 3,
the point,
James.
Given the points in hand and the fact that there are fairly strained vocals and some more performance issues than number 1, I think I'm going to have to go with number 1.
All right. Well, there you have it, everybody. It's Katie Perkins and her track, To Love Me, is going to be our Song of the Week this week. Great job to our panel. Everybody out in the audience, certainly hope you guys had a good time with the music. We had a great time having you here with us. Again, we're still trying to get everything settled down after our systems issues this week, but hopefully we'll get it all ironed out. Everything will be back the way it was, perfect or better. I hope it's better. I don't know. But anyway, congratulations to
Rick,
Katie Perkins. Yeah, Tommy, go ahead.
I've noticed over the years that after you rebuild the studio, we have fewer problems. And as time goes on and you go through your drinking fits and putting your hands through computers and whatnot, it starts to deteriorate. I think you should do less tea, more booze, and you'd be a lot calmer and apt to fix things on the way instead of waiting for a downtime.
Yeah, well, maybe I will. I'll tell you what,
Tommy.
we've got another week before the actual studio rebuild. So if I drink heavily between now and then, come January, everything should be perfect.
Tommy, you do know that the studio change around is him just sitting behind his desk with his feet up, trying to reposition his pencil.
I thought he was just trying to reposition his chair or what he uses to put on it.
It's an ink
There is
pen.
that.
It's an ink pen, but it doesn't matter anyway. We're out of time this week. Join us again next week. Our guest panelist is going to be Mr. John Schroeder, and we're looking forward to seeing him again. It's been a while. It should be great to have him back with us. Certainly hope you're back with us. And, of course, January coming up after we take our December hiatus as I move my ink pen around the studio here. We'll find out where it winds up. It could be on the wall behind me. Who knows? So anyway, we'll talk to you again next week right here on Music Scene Investigation as we play out today with Katie Perkins and her song, To Love Me. Thanks for being here, everybody. We'll talk to you next time on Music Scene Investigation.
Toodaloos.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It was a sunny day in July. You said you loved me, but we weren't right. I said some things that I really didn't mean, so
cup. So you know I got the Marley. I'm moving real slow. So you know I'm on this scissor. On this ice round my neck. Call me Mr. Condo Blizzard. And yeah, I'm real. Like the bridges on the nizzer. It's a rock in my cup. Can't keep the beamer off the kizzer. Long night. I will be up all night. Hit the club. Throwing sad. Cause you know my money right. Money so ridiculous. Women looking excellent. And it's about time I reload my medicine. I'm on that ditty. I'm on that Bob Marley. I'm on that ditty. I'm on that Bob Marley. I'm on that ditty. I'm on that Bob Marley. I'm on that ditty. I'm on that Bob Marley.
Some foreign with a bad Barbie. What we drinking and smoking on some rockin' Bob Marley. Pull up in that new Benz with a bad chick. You know the liquor pulled up and the stay lit. Geeked up cards and hot call the arsonist. Been up all night, so I'm feeling like zombies. Pocket full of thousands, bad around me. All the other year to say I deserve